All right, Tate, welcome to the first episode of Two States at One Time, which is officially named.
Ooh,
We got
let's
it going.
go.
This is actually, interestingly enough, the only place where we and our viewers can be at the border of Oregon and Utah. That's the whole bit.
That's a good starter. You know what? I hadn't heard that till now.
No, yeah, because there isn't actually a real border. So if you want to
Yeah,
enjoy
no,
Oregon and Utah, you got to
you
listen
come
to
straight here. You listen to us two.
Tate and Damion. There it is. And I think
There it freaking is.
an introduction is kind of necessary. Would you like to start on just who you are, what you've been up to? Like, tell me about your week.
All right. Yeah.
Kick me off. Who the fuck are you?
I'll kick us off with some. So my name's Tate. Obviously, I'm one of the two of us. I live in Utah right now. Damien and me both met in Oregon. Who I am? I'm a musical theater student at the University of Utah, SCO Utes.
What year are you?
I'm going into my junior year.
Junior year. Are you on track to graduate in 4 years?
I am on track to graduate. So
that's good. I have not actually had that same experience.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if you know this. I'm actually like going into my senior year. I'm 23. I took like basically a year and a half where I just wasted my like free money that I got from FAFSA and just tried out like being an automotive student. But now I'm going into my senior year being a psychology student. So it's kind of a little bit of a contrast there going on.
Interesting.
Have you been satisfied like committing to one degree and then like just full sending it?
Yes, because I think if I wasn't going to school for musical theater or any sort of like performance with music, I don't think I would be going to school. It's just, I feel like it's a lot of an investment for me personally to not get much out of it if I was doing something else,
No, that makes sense. And yeah. Like from a pleb's perspective, and I'm a pleb.
Yes.
What the hell is like a music theater degree, and like why would someone get one? I guess
literally. Okay, I could talk about this for a bit. Yeah. There's literally no reason to need to get one. You can audition for things and not have a degree. Like, right. It's not a need, but like there's not going to be. You're not going to go to an audition. It's going to say you need to have a 4-year degree to be here. Whereas when you'd be interviewing for a job, they want you to have whatever degree with how many years of experience. You just have to fit into whatever role someone's trying to cast.
Right. So if you're like, they're looking for generic old grandma and you're 20-year-old, or you're 19, right? Actually, 19-year-old Tate Fauché, you can't really take the role on.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it's less of a knowledge thing for here, more so of you're coming here, you're working with people that are professionals. They've all worked on Broadway or worked with people that are like movie stars and stuff like that. And it's you're getting these connections that are normally you would not come by when you're, whatever. I moved here when I was 17. I wouldn't normally be working with someone who was in Phantom of the Opera on Broadway because, I'm from rural Oregon. That's not something we have there.
Right. No, I will say, like, as a psychology major, my experience has actually been exactly the same, which is like,
really?
I work in a behavioral facility now, and the minimum credentials are like have experience working as like a CNA or like in mental health or something, which you can get in those positions with no psychology background. And then the only reason that I'm like at college, the biggest benefit for me has been connections, where I meet like people who have their PhD, people teach me how to write like a killer resume, people tell me how to apply for things, because I never really realized, and I had to write basically a paper where I asked for a bunch of free money to do this like research for a project I'm in, and I wrote it up, and then my principal investigator went over it and was like, oh, you should change this section and this section, reword it, do this header differently, and basically made it look like a professional wrote it. And it's like, okay, well, actually, I could have wrote that and made it look like a professional wrote it. But like, honestly, having her there just like took my thing to the next level much more quickly, right? And it's like, I can apply for things and I didn't even know I could apply, just changing the way you word something. So when I was writing this letter, I had this like paragraph where I talked about what I do in research, and I wrote out like, oh, like I, work with like kids, and I, collect data and work in a secure network, and, I know ethics and stuff of like subject confidentiality. But she like took it to the next level by changing things like following multi-step protocols and procedures, like advanced like logistics and data. And then you're like, holy shit, like I technically, yes, I'm doing these things, but like you just made it sound like I'm a goddamn genius. So
Interesting. Yeah, no, it's a little bit different for me going to school because it's like I said, you don't need to go to school for this,
mhm.
but learning what people want to see is really good. And also, you could just have a voice lesson and take like a dance class or something like that and try to progress on your own by through other means in this field. You can take acting classes that aren't through a school,
Mhm.
but going into a BFA program like this that I'm in, it's
BFA?
more so, yeah, BFA,
What
Bachelor
is
in
it?
the Fine Arts.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas a Bachelor in the Arts is less performance based, more knowledge based. So
Oh, it could be like
we
the
have to,
history then, like history
yeah.
of theater.
So yeah, like you learn the history of theater, or you learn to write plays and stuff like that. It's more of
Okay.
a English degree. Not that's not saying that all theater degrees are. That's just what some are. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, the what I'm going for, it's drilling everything. So I'm at school from 9 to 5, or I'm at the university from 9 to 5 most days, and I'm taking classes. I'm dancing, I'm singing, I'm taking acting classes, and then I also, because this university, this program wants you to have a normal education as well. You have to take your gen ed still, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I have to take these all online, or else I literally have to take an extra year of school, which makes it difficult.
What do you mean you have to take them online or take an extra year of school? Like they literally
It's
don't fit into the schedule, or
Well, it's very rarely is the thing, because the theater classes that we have to take that are special for this degree, it's not like people from the outside can take them. You have to be there. You have to be there. You can't miss many days. You can miss like a few because you're there every day. For dance classes, you have to be there 5 days a week
okay.
for now, for this university. Um, but there's another dance class that we have to take instead for the 5th day. So woohoo! Um, but yeah, you have to be there all those days, and if you're gonna get the degree, you can't miss a term of dance unless you
Hmm.
want to stay longer, because you have to have 8 terms of dance classes done by the time you graduate, and that means you have to set aside your mornings every semester or term, and you have to do these dance classes. You have to take a few extra dance classes for the styles bits, which will go further into the day. So that means you can't take any class before whatever 12:30 at this point.
Hmm.
And then there's other dance classes for styles that you're not going to be learning in those classes. Like if you want to learn tap, you have to set aside extra time for that, which I had to. And I was like, I want this.
Hmm.
It's just going to be another tool that I have. But that means now for those 2 hours on Friday now, I can't be taking a different class. I have to be there for this. And it like those things aren't necessarily like needed for the degree, but
Hmm.
they're a necessity for the job. So it's more so you really should take them, but you can fly by if you're just wanting to get a degree because that's what your parents want.
Right. So if your end goal is just that piece of paper with your name on it, with the university, signed off on it, then
Hmm.
there's kind of an easier way. But if you actually kind of want to develop these skills that are in the
Yeah.
field, then you kind of have to make some sacrifices, which is like taking online courses or setting
Hmm.
aside entire days for dance from 8 a.m. until what, like 3 or 4 at night,
Yeah.
basically?
Well, for dance classes, it's usually around 8 or 9 till 12, 11:30, something like that. But then, depending on what year you are and what classes you have to take, you'll have an acting class or a speech class after that, which
Oh, good
is
Lord.
the speech classes are really something for someone who spent a lot of time on that when I was younger. I was like, all right, but
I I'm curious what the speech classes are like because I've taken a communication 111 course. I think most people going to college will have experience with like a 111 or 112, which will be either interpersonal communication or public speaking. And in
oh
my
yes,
experience, it was awesome. I had this great teacher. He was a former lawyer and he was just like not really into being a lawyer, so he ended up stepping down, or not stepping down. I think that's the wrong terminology. He did like a
just
linear
leaving.
transition, yeah, in his
Oh,
career, which is like, I don't want to do law anymore. I don't want to practice law. I want to like teach people about like being a good public speaker and having skills to communicate with each other, which is pretty like a noble cause, I think.
Yeah.
But he was awesome. Like he came into class and just the confidence he had when he was talking really made like I feel like the students want to go up there and be like an incredible speaker as well. At least in my experience, I was like, this guy is awesome. And he played like CS:GO, and like I had to take an exam, and because it's a public speaking class, he just made it open note. He's like, just read this chapter, take notes on it. There's going to be 10-question exam, right? Like I'm not trying to trick you here. I just have to do this for the curriculum, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I got 100, obviously, because it's a public speaking class with notes. And he wrote GG on my paper because he knew I played League of Legends. So, like, I guess contrast that to your experience. What does a day look like for your public speaking?
So I will say I may have confused you a bit. My speech class was a voice and speech class.
Oh.
So it was working on using your voice in a healthy way. So it was the one we had to take was a 3-hour online Zoom class because it was at the peak of COVID. I fell asleep many times with my camera on, which was very embarrassing. But yeah, it was learning to use the registers of your voice in a healthy way and to stay out of your what's called the vocal fry, which is what stereotypically a lot of like straight alpha males will do, where they like speak down here. Because like that's fine, but the more that you do that, the more it's going to hurt your voice. So it's teaching you how to speak healthily in a way that you can project and stuff. Because most of the people there don't have a problem with public speaking. But not all. You know, there are some people that go into the business that are very afraid of the public.
What is your thought on that? I guess like gut reaction. Somebody says, "Hey, I want to do theater, but like I'm fucking terrified to talk in front of people." Like, what do you say?
It's always I have mixed feelings about it because for instance, there's this one person in my class that has the most killer voice. Like I've seen shows on Broadway and she's better than some of the people I've seen up there easily. But then she came into the program not having done any musical theater. And I was like, that's so weird that you would go and devote 4 years of your life, most likely more than that, because hopefully you're going to work in the industry for something you've never done before. And like, they're great, but they also, have a hard time speaking in front of people. And sometimes when they get nervous, they get really quiet. And it's something that, if you're in like a community theater, it's like, oh, whatever. But like, you're putting thousands and thousands of dollars into this so you can have these connections and learn these things that many of us, those basics have learned at an earlier age because we started earlier.
Right. Do you think that the like hurdle is too great for most people to do that kind of a path then? So let's say we're taking Joe Schmo, average person, they want to flip the switch and they're like, they just graduated high school, haven't done performances. Maybe they have some of that innate talent you're talking about, like a voice or singing or maybe dancing. I don't know. They have something that's a little bit advantageous. Do you think for most people, though, that's just not worth it? Or would you say to commit?
I mean, with something like this, I don't think it's ever worth it unless you're 100% in. Okay. For someone like that doesn't know, I think they should do something first. They should try it out first because
get their feet wet.
Yeah, get their feet wet because, oh my God, it's not, if you end up regretting the fact that you just spent 3 years of college, of university time, spending every waking moment there with people that are a lot of fun but can be opinionated, it's like, hey,
right?
It's probably.
Do you feel like there's any skills, like I guess secondhand skills you're getting from this kind of a program, or is it all just skip the fluff? This is everything you need to know. Because in my experience, real quick, I was going to say as a psych student, I am so all over the place. My skills are everything. Like I've learned to use like statistical software. I've had to learn to code. And psychology overall has been much more math than I expected, which is fine. I came into college as a CS major and I did a lot of the math. So I knocked calculus out of the way before I even got into like switching to psychology. So it wasn't like a problem. I'm not complaining, but I have so many other skills that I've developed for like looking at data, analytics, trends. And I guess I did not expect it, but now that I'm here and I'm kind of working in a lab and working in behavioral health, I'm starting to realize that a lot of the trajectory for getting a professional degree, so if I got like a master's or like a PhD or PsyD,
Mhm.
could actually be in like research and like data. And a lot of psychology students do actually go into like marketing and data and this kind of stuff.
Wow,
But
interesting.
for theater, have you had that at all?
I will definitely say it's a lot more networking than I thought it would be because I knew it was going to be
Hmm.
a lot, but that's almost the majority of the work is just getting to know people, knowing people, putting yourself out there, which has been like I have no problem talking to people, but it gets to be a lot when there's, that's all you're doing all the time. I will say it gets exhausting. Another thing that I knew was a part of it, but has become so much more, especially recently, is like self tapes and knowing how to record yourself in your voice.
Hmm.
Because before that was an option for sometimes. Sometimes, theaters would be like, oh, you can send this in. Or like for bigger theaters, that might be like their first audition round, self tapes. But
Okay.
now, especially since after COVID, when there was people trying to do stuff online or people that wanted to do stuff, but they couldn't have in person auditions. And then they had to have all this stuff. Self tapes become so big.
Would you
Almost every theater will accept a self tape unless they just don't have that in their system. They will
would you
accept
dare
a
say
self
it's
tape.
the industry standard?
I mean, I'm not one to say that because I wouldn't know what the industry is at this point, but
Okay.
because like where I am and where actual professionals are is so because I might be just as skilled as some of them, but their experience is going to put them way above me on who's going to get hired.
Okay. So it's almost like it's not even just about the skill or the performance. It really is truly this networking. Who do you
It's
know?
mostly networking, who you know, because your skill, everything, yeah, you need that. But everyone has to have that in this. You're not
Mhm.
going to go into this degree without that skill. You need to be able to, I mean, at the least hold a tune. If you're really attractive, that can be enough. But you need to be able to sing like as much as you can. For what this school is really preparing us for is to be a ensemble member for the most part because you're taking all these dance classes because those are the roles that you're going to have a better chance at getting at the beginning
Mhm.
because they need you to look a certain way, be able to do the stuff, and it doesn't matter as much on your connections for that. Connections, sure, they're always going to help, but if you can do the triple pirouette and sing the high G, then that's
You're
good.
in. You're fucking in. You're getting a paycheck for the high
Exactly.
G. I don't
The
even know
high
what a high
G,
G is.
sheesh.
I'll say it.
You'll say it? Hell
Yeah, I
yeah.
have no clue. I don't know anything about theater or singing for that matter. But
Nice.
I guess one thing that I'm noticing is that aspect is very different from my college experience as a
Hmm.
CS major, psychology major. You don't actually come in with those skills. It's actually expected that you don't know how to code or you have zero concept of what psychology is. You just go in, just complete raw dog, and they teach you from the beginning. You can have zero experience, and there's no there's a very low floor for entry, but it
Hmm.
sounds like with theater, the floor is actually pretty high. Like, do you think
No, yeah,
um
going into a BFA program like I'm in, the floor is a little bit high. Like it's not out of this world. I mean, if especially if you're like a male presenting person, you have a chance of getting in even if you just kind of like music and you can hold a tune and you can dance a little bit and you're like a cute guy.
mhm.
You'll have a chance because there's not a lot of guys in theater. But the floor is different because in my program they accepted like what, 20 some people a year
How
for
many
that
applied?
class.
Do you know?
Over 1,000.
So 1,000 people apply, probably around every year ish. You think?
Yeah, something like that.
And 25 got taken.
Yeah.
What does that put you in? Like you're like in the 1% then, or some shit
Yeah,
like that.
something like that. Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. Uh,
No, yeah. So but there's also things to account like people audition for multiple schools, so maybe they get accepted here, but then they choose somewhere else.
okay.
But there's also the fact that every year more high schoolers are graduating and want to go to school for this, and every year that someone doesn't get accepted and they audition again, that just keeps that person in the pool.
Okay.
So it's gonna just keep getting larger and larger.
Did you apply to other schools?
I didn't because I was told by this university that I would be getting in-state tuition. I have not, so it's
Whoa.
made things a little bit more expensive than I
Little,
thought.
they gave you the old Rob reach around. They
They gave
tricked
me the
you.
Rob reach around, yeah, because it all got fucked up because I did an early college program when I
Hmm.
was in high school, and that to the amazing University of Utah meant that I had given time to another university, so I didn't deserve it. That's not their words,
But that's
but
basically that's the TLDR. That's
yeah,
like, hey, so we were gonna give you in-state tuition, but turns out you went to another school, and we don't do sloppy seconds. Is basically what I'm
exactly.
hearing here.
Exactly, which was upsetting for a lot of reasons, but I'm
Financially, probably mostly.
financially, yeah, but I have gotten a lot of scholarships and stuff. My FAFSA is fine because my parents are divorced, but
There
we're
you go.
we're we're slaying.
That's a serious Tate Fosley moment right there.
That's a faux slay moment. But yeah, um, not to totally go off of this, but other things about me. I love board games. I love video games. I like hiking. I love music. That's
What
a
kind of
pretty
game? What kind of games are you playing these days?
video games or board games. That's a big question.
Uh, Hit me with some board games because I don't really know too many, so I can't really add much food for thought. So we'll start there, and then I think with video games I could probably add more
Hell
substance.
yeah. Okay, so this is like been a big moment for me. So I'm in my new apartment, yeah, which has been great. And uh, me and my roommate James, we have two new roommates, and the four of us, which I'm the only one living here right now, but the four of us, we got a table, and I haven't had a dining room table for like 2 years now because I was in the dorms and then I was living in a shitty apartment that didn't have room.
Oh my god! Of course.
So I was like, I was pogging. I was going out of my mind because I finally had a place to play board games, and I put well over $1,000 into my board games at this
Holy
point.
shit!
Like I have a good selection. That was a big part of me in high school, and then I just kind of didn't play any board games for 2 years. So I've already had people over a few times, which has been good. But recently, I just bought Munchkin, which is a
Okay,
classic.
I actually
People
know
love that one.
Munchkin. It's
I still haven't played it. Is the
it,
thing.
oh, it's very approachable actually.
Oh
It's like
yes,
I know some
I.
board games are like 2-3 hour commitments, on a good
Mhm.
day, but like
Yeah.
Munchkins is like, you can do a round of Munchkins to get through it and like I feel like want to play a second round. But
Hmm.
some games like I don't know, like Monopoly or like these kind of games are so tedious and you want to like shoot yourself and your friends and then everyone hates each other.
Hmm. Yeah, I think the only time I played a board game like one of those, like one that you really have to dig your teeth into in the past few years, I had come back to Oregon and I was with a few of my buddies at their apartment and we were playing God, I don't remember what it's called, but it was like this alien based game where you have to like get all of your own units of supplies and there's this weird alien currency that you can all trade and you're trying to win the galactic civilization, and it took like 8 hours. It was
Jesus Christ.
it
You
was
did it
the
in one
yeah,
shot?
one shot. It sucked ass because like once I finally understood what was happening, I was like, oh, God, we're 5 hours in, and at that
It,
point, I was already losing by so much.
it took
And I
five
was
hours to wrap your mind all the way around the game completely.
yeah, the rule book itself took probably 20 minutes to read because they were reading it out loud, and it's like, God damn.
Oh my god. Popcorn or
No, no, literally, it was rough. We were like all munching the entire time, and we got through like every snack because it took so long. It was so upsetting.
Jesus Christ.
Um, Good game though. Good game. Just for a first time, that was rough.
No, I follow. So Munchkins is what you're into now.
So yeah,
Or
I actually just got a few games. I got Munchkin. I got Here to Slay because I say slay a lot. That's a cute one.
Mhm.
And then also the Disney Villainous game just came out with a Star Wars one, and I just got that today.
I did
Pretty
see
pumped
that.
about
Was that on Be Real or was that on
I was on Snapchat. Yes,
Snapchat? Okay. There we go.
we love Be Real though.
We do. I forgot to ask during episode 0, so maybe I'll segue this in real quick.
Yeah.
Is Be Real real?
For me, yes. I don't think it necessarily is for everyone though, because ever since you pointed out that you can see people's like retakes, I'm like, oh, these bitches, this isn't real at all.
You took 20 retakes,
Dude,
motherfucker.
you took 5 photos. What the hell?
5 photos, 2 hours late. Like, come on, that's not what you were
Mm-hmm.
doing in that moment. I know.
Honest,
I post and I look like shit. My hair's fucked up. I just woke up. Like, honestly, I might be on the toilet. You know what I mean? Like,
Mike,
but
I was gonna say that sometimes the Be Real will go off while like I'm in the shower or on the toilet, and then those are the times when I'm like, I'll just post late. Because I
Mhm.
usually just won't post if it's like 4 hours late. I'm like, ugh, you know, because it's like it ruins the fun of it. But when I'm like, doing my business, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, it's time to be real, and like, and it's disgusting, and no one wants to see this. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just be a few minutes late, and that's
Yeah,
fine.
I actually have a current dilemma going on where, like, today and then another day, the Be Real went off at a time where I was either like sleeping or I was like just honestly busy. I think one day I was working at the facility and like I don't check my phone when I'm at the facility.
Oh yeah,
Like, it's strictly business. And then I see everyone post it and I'm like, do I really want to be the guy that posts 6 hours late? Like, I won't, so that's actually where I'm at today right now. Like, it's 3:30 and I think the Be Reals posted what at like 6 hours ago.
oh yeah, a
So
while ago.
I'm just like, I don't think I'm gonna send it, but it's not that it wouldn't be real. It would just be late. You know what I mean?
The thing is, I think I posted late for my reason given before,
Mhm.
but I also forgot for a bit. So then I was like, oh, I'm going to post. Now I'm regretting it because I'm like, that's not real. Maybe
Mhm.
I wasn't the Be Real that I always tried to be
No, yeah,
real.
I follow, and for me, like, the thing is, I never post. I don't like. I'm not deliberately waiting for something interesting to happen. Like, you've seen all of my beat reels. It's me sitting in the yard or sitting in my room every single time,
It's
unless
good
I'm at
stuff.
Dutch Bros. That's the only exception.
I love that.
What?
Yeah, my Be Real is always me and my cat or me and my little One Piece flag, which
I always do
always
see
looking
the
over
One
me.
Piece flag. Yep, that's iconic.
It's iconic.
Uh, One thing I also did want to ask about, kind of like, post introduction, is obviously you're from Oregon. You grew up there for 17 years. You're in Utah now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious which state you identify more with now. Like, growing up in Oregon or like introductory period of your adult life. And they're totally different sections. But when you're in Oregon, do you feel like you're at home? Or is that more like when you're in Utah?
This is actually me and James, my roommate. We've been talking about like this kind of stuff a lot recently because he just went home for the first time in like a year,
Hmm.
but he is not having a great time. He's like he just doesn't feel right there anymore.
Okay. Without
Which
doxing James Wong, he is not from even close to Utah, I
no,
imagine.
he's not from even close to Utah. Just another place in America in the South. So
Okay.
yeah. So he went. He's there currently, and we've been messaging and keeping in touch, obviously, but he is not enjoying it. His friends are all gone. His family. He has weird bonds with them. He's got his own stuff going on, but it's just like you grow out of it. And for me, it's been similar and also different
Hmm.
because I've gone home a good handful of times and it's been a good time. I get to see buddies that I have there that are very different from the friends that I have here in Utah,
Right.
which is a good thing for me. Um, and no shade to anyone. It's just
Hmm.
having a diverse friend group is good.
Okay, we are back after a brief pause, but you were
Sorry about that,
saying,
everyone.
no, yeah, you're all good. You were saying, so you were back in Oregon and you've had some ups and downs, but
Yeah,
this most recent
so
experience was pretty positive, actually.
it was pretty positive. Yes. No. Having such different like home lives in Utah versus Oregon has been interesting for me because I have that aspect of I'm alone out here and it's great. But whereas for the rest of my family, they moved just to other places in Oregon. I don't have that ability to be like, hey, I'm gonna come home for the weekend because if I want to, it costs me a couple $100 and a whole day. And it's
And
like,
your
well,
sanity.
yeah, and my sanity. And also I have to go to, the Salt Lake City airport, which can kiss my ass. It's nice, but it's huge and it's
Okay.
always busy.
Okay.
Um, God, there's okay. I'm gonna tangent about this a little bit.
All right.
There is one flight that goes to Eugene, Oregon, and it leaves at like 4 a.m. every day. It's a
Oh,
direct flight, so it's really nice. But that means the only way that I can get a direct there is by leaving at either 4 a.m. or sometimes they'll have one at like 11 p.m. And I'm like, oh,
Jesus Christ.
man, man. Either way, if I need someone to pick me up, which I always do, they're gonna just not be happy.
They are gonna fucking hate you, grabbing you at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Actually, wait,
Exactly.
it's 4 a.m. in Utah, so you probably get to Oregon and it's what, like 5 a.m. or something?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. So it's pretty rough, but we work with it. We work with it.
Okay. So then
But yeah,
I was,
I've got. Oh, sorry.
oh no, I wanted to ask, I guess, like contrasting really quickly about like your childhood life, all those years versus this chunk of your adult life. Like,
hmm
is it how is like living in Utah now as an adult? I guess.
Yeah, I will say that's again something that I've recently been thinking about a lot because living in Utah as an adult, I have these experiences that I never did when I was, growing up in Oregon. Because it's like now that I'm out on my own and what I put in my brain when I'm here, when I think of is, oh, going out, seeing friends, getting up to, whatever random shit we do, going to school, having to provide for myself in a lot of ways that I don't have to where I'm home.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when I go back to Oregon, I hit by like a wave of nostalgia, essentially. Like the
Mm-hmm.
entire time, everything is just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Even if it's a bad thing, it's reminding me of stuff that didn't go great or stuff that was amazing. Uh, it's
Okay. It's kind of a
it's
blast from
weird,
the past.
kind of, but like a blast from the present. Because I keep in touch with a good amount of people from Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is good for me because some people don't have any connection to their home, and I think that's whatever works for you, but it's important for me, so I'm happy about it. But yeah, it's weird. I don't know which I would consider more my home at this point because I have my family and I have my lifelong friends that I made at home in Oregon, but then here in Utah, I have my whole life. Everywhere that I go from here started here. So
Okay. If I guess like a fun little thought exercise is if you want a house, which state would you want it to be in?
I actually was just thinking about this today.
Oh, really?
Which is
That's so
insane.
funny.
And I was like, yeah, I would way rather have a house in Oregon than I would in freaking Utah.
Okay, so maybe it's not even just like one feels more like home than the other, but like maybe Utah is just kind of a shithole,
A
but
little
also
bit,
great,
yeah.
but also great. Like not truly a shithole, just kind of in an ironic sense.
The thing is, I do think Utah itself is a shithole, but
Hmm.
since I live in Salt Lake City, there's a lot more stuff going on here, and there's a lot more fun people. So I think Salt Lake City, while not amazing, isn't a shithole.
Hmm.
Utah itself, in my opinion, yeah, a little bit.
Okay, so if you were just like, that's why maybe you don't want the home there, is because Salt Lake City, kind of a good place to be, some redeeming qualities, but Utah, not great, objectively, I guess would be
Yeah,
the way to view it.
I've had like a lot of revelations, whatever, especially with my brother having the kid, and like
Hmm.
all of a sudden I see that life is getting more, adult, things are happening, life is changing, and I'm like, okay. And I was thinking about, if I, settled down with someone, I don't think I would want to do it here. I don't think there's any part of me that would want to do it in Utah unless there was a work reason to stay here.
Hmm.
I would much prefer to be in a place like Oregon.
Okay, yeah, I can say like me being an Oregon resident my entire life. I was born here, 23 years in Oregon. Um, it has like some shitty stuff about it, and
hmm
honestly, like the Eugene area can be kind of dead sometimes, right? Where you're just like, there's fucking nothing going on. Like it's all
hmm
the same people, and it feels really small world in Eugene. Or
Yes.
maybe I just live in a bubble. I'm not sure if you've had that same experience, but like I managed to see people that I know in Eugene all the fucking time. Like I swear everywhere I go is somebody that I know. And maybe just like being here for 23 years has that effect on you. I don't really know. But it's like always the same bars, always the same clubs. So like maybe I just need to get out a little bit more.
hmm
But objectively, like everything here is pretty awesome. You know what I mean? Like it's like really simple life, I feel like. A
hmm
lot of like things politically kind of like align with my values, where like the population, not in like Harrisburg or like this area, but in like Eugene and Portland area, people vote on like things that like I think are important to me. And
Yeah.
so I think that's like that, that's a big deal for wanting to settle down, is like, does this climate support your values? Like, do you want to raise like kids in an area where like certain things are or aren't allowed? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
But enough about the politics.
Enough about the politics.
Yeah. So one thing we've had on our agenda, and we definitely want to talk about, we've got this new Sonic game coming out, and I just want to go straight into it. I checked out the trailer, and I gotta say, I'm not a big Sonic fan, and when you told me that I had to check this out, I fully expected Sonic to be, glitching through the terrain, lots of comedy, just goofy shit going on. Because that's always, like, the Sonic trend. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's always, the game is half fucking baked, broken, doesn't work, dysfunctional. But, like, honestly, that's kind of the gimmick. You know what I mean? It's like, Sonic is kind of funny, and then the game is almost, like, ironically funny, where things are goofy and don't work the way they should. But
no, yeah. Did you see Sonic Boom when it first came out? The one where Knuckles could fly?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Like, on release, the cutscenes. Sorry, I just said like 8 times. After we had a whole bit about public speaking, the cutscenes would play in the wrong frame rate, so they would just fuck around, and then all of a sudden it would just stop. And if you played as Knuckles and did like his ground smash, you could pause the game and then jump again, so you could just go out of bounds anywhere.
That's the shit I'm talking about. Every Sonic game has game-breaking mechanics that just absolutely ruin the immersion. And obviously they're not going to put it in the trailer, but I kind of expected it to be like looking like a pile of shit. The game looks kind of polished, but I don't know if you got this sense. It looked really, really boring to me. Like,
I have 2 things to say.
Okay.
First of all, I totally agree with you. Second of all, I totally didn't mean the game. I meant talking about the movies, because they just announced a 3rd movie.
Oh my god, you meant watch the new Sonic movie. We're on a completely different page here.
But I'm so down for this too, because what is it?
Frontier?
What is it? Frontier, yeah. That game, I've heard from, like, I keep up with, the game news and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. From the people that I watch, at least, said it is better than they thought it would be.
The game? Okay, I watched. Have you seen the trailer, or we're totally on different pages
now? I've watched the trailer, and it looks really empty.
Yes, that's the sense that I got too, actually. When I was watching it, like, I was watching Sonic run around and climb up this tower, and, like, I don't know if it's just in, like, early stages, but, like, there was just fucking nothing. And the developers didn't call it, like, an open world game. They deliberately called it, like, open zone, which I guess is going to be our next discussion in my rant, which is, like, fake open world stuff, and how I don't really think it's that good. It can be good, but, like, I don't know. I feel like when I think about open world, I think about, like, Fallout New Vegas. I think about that new Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild game, which isn't really new anymore, but, like...
I'm about to say new? Didn't that come out in, like, 2016?
Yes, but, like, for me, it's, like, new as a boomer,
Yeah.
Anyway, so... And these games are so incredible, you can go wherever you want. Elden Ring, right? That's kind of, like, open world. And... I don't know. It feels like those worlds are so full and, like, rich and lively and, like, an actual place, right? And then I watched this Sonic trailer, and it's like a barren wasteland, nothing going on. Sure, you can kind of go around, and it's not really a linear platformer like Sonic normally is. Because it's normally like, okay, you start at A, you go to B. Now you're kind of like, you start in Zone A and go to Zone B, right? But... it just felt empty. I didn't see any dialogue. I didn't see Sonic talking to anybody. Where the fuck was Knuckles flying through the air? Like,
no, exactly. But... okay, I'm watching a gameplay trailer of it right now, actually, because I'm like, oh, it's been, because I saw the first time I saw the trailer, it was in like a Nintendo Direct or something, and I just skipped through, and I was like, oh, cool, new Sonic. Yeah, this looks weird. Like, I don't understand what the style is with the enemies, but they look like black, like, shapes that they just kind of tape together.
Uh-huh.
which maybe there's like a lore reason for that. I don't know,
I'm sure
but
there is, but
I am confused. It looks weird. It looks like they had some like Unreal Engine 4 base like free roam area, and they're like, yeah, this
holy
works.
shit. Yeah,
This
that's
works.
actually it did kind of just look like they just fucking dropped Sonic into an Unreal Engine like terrain and they're like, "Now you get to go wherever you want, but there's nothing to do." It's kind of like some monkey's paw type shit where you're like all the Sonic fans are out there fucking wishing they're like, "God, just give me open world Sonic. Please, I'll do anything." And they're like, the fucking monkey's paw, the finger curls and they're like, "Granted, but there's fucking nothing there." You know what I mean? You're just Sonic on an island. But
Yeah, I'm so confused, but all for it. I think one problem that this game probably will see. I mean, I don't know a ton about like the creation of video games, but Sonic's a character known for going fast, and he runs around fast. Having an open world where you can't like say don't go this way, he's gonna just go throughout the entire. So they'll have to make it extremely huge. That means the budget needs to be insane, which it's not gonna get.
when I was
So he's
watching,
just
he didn't feel that fast, and that's the sense I was getting, which is actually like you're
in
kind
yeah
of
no.
slow.
What's the point of playing Sonic if he's not fast? Like, I get it, he has the the lock-on attack or whatever, but I think that shit's dumb personally. Because what's the point if you just lock on to everyone?
Yeah, I don't know. It's for me. I think Sonic is always supposed to be kind of gimmicky. Like it's supposed to be really goofy. Like talking about chili cheese dogs and like you know what I mean.
I
Like
actually have a question about that. When did the chili cheese dog like Sonic thing become canon?
I
Because
wish
I
I
feel like
really do wish I knew. I fucking do not know.
one day. All of a sudden he's holding a chili dog and he's like, "Yeah, it's my favorite," and everyone's like, "Yeah, it's always been his
It's
favorite."
it has always been his favorite.
But when
I
did
don't
he like? Oh my god!
I don't know, but I am curious to hear about this movie, and I can't say much about it because I haven't seen the trailer. But what is this? And this is
Oh
a follow
yeah,
up on the movie we watched or started.
no, actually. So they already released the fall because there's the first one. They just did the second one. They just announced. There's no trailer yet, but they just announced a third one, which I think is crazy. That Sonic the Hedgehog has had so many failed video games, not like one hit in the past however long. But then he comes out and gets a three movies. Three movies.
Are they? Is this realistic Sonic or the other one? Like
Wait, what do you mean?
like isn't there like that realistic, really shitty Sonic that like
Holy shit. I mean,
you know what I'm
that was
talking about?
yeah, the original Sonic movie character. That's a scary picture.
He was in the like. It wasn't like Alvin and the Chipmunks. It was
No,
the
it was the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers.
Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. Thank God he was the realistic Sonic was in that.
Yeah,
And
they had ugly Sonic.
it's nightmare fuel.
Which I actually have a fun fact about that. I read on an article that the ugly Sonic in that movie, they didn't get any permission to use Sonic from Sega. They
Really?
just technically that's its own character, Ugly Sonic. They were just like, yeah,
This is just our thing. Do
this is
they
just
own the
this is
trademark for it?
that can't be possible. I don't know about that. That seems insane, but
For Ugly Sonic? Oh my
I don't
God.
think they actually ever got the like rights to use that character, which I think is insane. That Disney was like, yeah, let's just throw this guy in there.
I mean, they've got the budget, even if they did, something legal
Yeah, they get
happen.
sued for a couple million, billion, whatever. It's Disney.
But they put Ugly Sonic in it, and kids want to see it. Like I have like my cousin, she's like I don't know 8 years old or something, and she wants to watch everything with Sonic in it, which is kind of strange because like
That's
she also wants to watch like creepy pastas. Like I'll go out in the living room and there's this fucking like 8-year-old girl, like 3 feet tall, watching creepy pastas on Slenderman and shit, and I'm just like, what
the hell?
yeah, I'm just like, what the fuck is going on right now? But I guess it was cool when like. I don't know. I swear I had to have been like 11 years old or something when like Slender Man was like cool. I don't know how were you like 8 when it came out?
I was pretty young when Slenderman was like a big thing. But I've also been kind of scared of like creepypasta stuff. Well, okay. I was always scared, and then I got to the point where I was like, this is just dumb. I never had an enjoyment of it, which I felt bad. because I was like, oh, everyone else got to have this enjoyment of like even like Five Nights at Freddy's. I never liked that stuff. I
Yeah,
went from thinking it was scary to thinking that's just stupid.
yeah, I actually have the same experience. I don't really like watching horror movies that much because I don't really get that scared. Like I know some of my friends, especially like
Mhm.
at Dutch Bros, they really like scary movies because like afterward they're like really scared. They're like, oh my gosh, like I couldn't sleep that night, and it's like, how? How could you not sleep? That was fucking Slender Man. You know what I mean? Like how did he scare you? You know,
Did
he
you
ain't
see
even
the
real.
Wasn't there a Slenderman movie? Did you see that?
Yes, I did. It was
Oh my
dog
god,
shit.
how was that? I never saw
It
it.
was terrible. It was
It
so
was ter-
fucking cringe. I don't remember who I watched it with or when it came out because I would not watch that on my own accord. But
No, yeah, I really enjoy some like horror movies, but more so for like the plot of it than the horror aspect. Because
okay.
similar, I don't really I get jump scared. I will jump scare on almost anything,
Oh,
honestly.
certainly, me too. Like I'll get
But
jump scared, but I don't get
as soon
lingering
as the
fear.
movie is over, I'm like, yeah, I think it's crazy that some people will be like, okay, I need someone to walk me to my car.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's the part I'm talking about. I don't get that like lingering, like, oh, I'm scared. Maybe there is aliens or is giant spiders or Slender Man. Like I will get scared in the middle of the movie, and that's kind of exciting. I get that, but afterward, I'm always like, well, the movie's over. Time to go home and sleep in my dark room by myself and not be
yeah.
afraid.
No, exactly. And I think it has something to do with we could bring ourselves out of the immersion, whereas other people, I guess, can't, which is weird.
You think that's a perk or a negative? Like,
Uh,
would you like to be afraid after a movie? Would that make it
I
more
don't
interesting?
know. I really don't know. Something to do with the whole immersion thing. I actually can segue into though. Sorry to get away from horror
No,
movies,
you're
but
good. You're good.
recently a buddy of mine who's an actor, he's in the acting training program here at Utah, opposed to me in the musical theater program where they spend all of their time acting,
That's just
whether
good writing, is what it is.
yeah, exactly. He's also the guy that's like on the esports team. He's a pretty cool dude. But we've talked a lot about like being able to sit yourself while going to see like a live show, like a theater production,
Mhm.
and put yourself into this is the reality of the show, you know. Even if it's someone they're doing like over the top characters and they want to be like all slapstick comedy on stage, putting yourselves into the seating that this is going to be the show I'm watching. This is their reality.
Mhm.
Whereas some people are like, "Oh, this just sucks ass," even if it's like a good show, but you know, they just went in a different direction. It takes a lot to put yourself into some art. You know, you're not always going to be able to appreciate everything, but the being able to is kind of a struggle because for me at least, when I go to see theater, if it's not like a realistic story with realism throughout the entire show, and you know, like recently I saw that zombie one. It took me probably 30 minutes to get into the universe they'd created, into their world of the show. And that's the first whatever 5 songs. That means I was just kind of sitting there like, what the hell's going on? And then eventually I was like, okay, this is just fun. Whereas if I was seeing a movie where it was I don't know, like based on the true tellings of so and so's life, you know, I can sit down and be like, okay, instantly, this is what I'm watching.
Right. So it's like easier to watch like Hamlet or something versus like I don't
Okay.
know. No, not
I,
Hamlet.
I, I, that is one thing. I can never get into like the world of Shakespeare. It's too hard for me. It's too old. The, you know, writing is great because it's Shakespeare, but it's written in a way that was profound for its time back then.
Okay.
And
So your appreciation is more for like contemporary things than actually.
yeah,
You
I
really like
mean,
stuff from like that's right now. It's like kind of I guess.
I don't get me wrong, I can appreciate stuff that is not contemporary, but I like to see newer stuff. Yeah, I think a big problem right now is everyone's doing the same shit. Everyone's remaking stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone's making sequels, like Sonic 3.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's actually I feel like you brought something up about that in the episode 0 where we talked about Star Wars, which is like Star Wars fans are butthurt that the new movie isn't what they wanted, but then people
Hmm.
who don't know the originals can actually appreciate it and think it's a good movie. And I'm
Hmm.
curious if like that's also been your experience with like performances where it's like maybe a lot of the snobs or whatever, like, this is nothing like what it used to be. But like for you, you're like, you go see it and you're like, okay, that was kind of quirky or funny or interesting. Like that was different, as long as it's not just
Yeah. With stuff that's already been done, I would rather see someone try to make it new, try to make it different, than see them expand on the first thing. Unless it's an untold story, you know? I mean, if it's like they end on a cliffhanger, you know, that's one thing. But if it's everything ends fine, like we'll use Star Wars for example. That seventh movie that originally was my favorite out of the trilogy, it just felt like more of the same shit. Which is where the next one, you know, they tried something new, which was exciting. You know, it didn't go as planned essentially, but it was a good movie. And I like that's why I hated those new Jurassic World movies. I didn't get anything out of that. I saw the first one and then I was like, no.
they really did just do Jurassic Park in like 2020.
They literally did that. And the last one they brought back old cast members and I'm like, okay, cameo time. And it's
Uh,
like
they're kind of
before it was what would we do if the dinosaurs were back? Now it's the same.
it's the same thing again. But now what? When do the mecha dinosaurs come out? That's what we're
Yeah.
all. That's what we want to see. When do the dinosaurs fight Godzilla? You know,
You know
King
that
Kong.
happens in that that's the new Sonic game. What are you talking about?
Really? Holy
Yeah.
fuck. No, but I do follow your logic where it's like you'd rather see an original idea that's like kind of flops and maybe people don't like it that much rather than an already, washed up, sloppy seconds. We're just doing the dinosaurs again. And it's like, even if you write it really well, it's like, great, but I already saw this. So
Yeah,
like,
but the thing is, I don't even need that much new stuff. Like you said, mecha dinosaurs, and I was like, yeah, even that would have made the movie more interesting to me. Because
holy fuck.
because instead of that, we got the dinosaurs and Chris Pratt putting his hand out, and it's like, come on, dude, come on, we don't need more Chris Pratt. He's in everything now.
Is there like a worrying trend or something around Chris Pratt? I see him a lot, and it seems like people don't like him. I don't have the
He
context on it. I'm out of the loop, unfortunately.
Well, I'll just say stuff like he is a very religious person. I'll say
Okay,
that.
like
And
Christian. Start there, I
yeah,
guess.
very Christian. And I mean nothing against that. It's just he has said some things that are hurtful to some communities, like the queer community, and
Okay,
he's done some stuff that's, less than amazing. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know everything about him, obviously. I don't know him
right.
personally. And there is that whole deal with he was married to a lady, I don't remember who it was. They had a kid together, and then he got remarried, had a new kid, and for a while it seemed like he only cared about the new kid, and everyone was freaking out. Again, this is just, what I've seen on the internet.
Right. You're not
But my
like talking to
biggest
Chris
thing
Pratt.
is this is a big thing with like movie stars. Once you get to a certain point, you can't see them as a character. You see them as the star. Like I saw Chris Pratt as the character in like Parks and Rec, and then he did the Marvel movies, and I was like, okay, that's him. But then, when I saw him in the Jurassic World, I was like, oh, it's Chris Pratt. When I see him and stuff now, I'm like, oh, when he's going to be the voice of Mario and Garfield in the
It's
upcoming movies.
it's Chris
That's
Pratt, not
that's
Mario.
Chris Pratt.
Okay, that's kind of an interesting, like, I guess, phenomenon. Does that happen? You think with all big stars? Like, I'm talking
For
the big
me,
ones.
yeah, for me, I think it does happen. Like with a lot of big stars, like with Timothée Chalamet. I think he is a great actor,
I don't know
but
who the
he's
fuck
gonna
that
be in
is.
this
I'm so
new.
sorry.
You don't know who Timothée Chalamet is?
No, I'm not into movie. I'm not. This is why we have
Holy
such a
shit!
good contrast. I feel like for this podcast, which is I am so not into performance theater movies. Like
I just
I'm
feel
out
like
of my world right now. I don't even.
I think
What's a
it's
movie they're
crazy
in?
that he was in Dune, the
Didn't
Dune
see it.
movies.
Didn't see
You
it.
didn't see Dune. I didn't see Dune either. To be fair, I wanted to read it first.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Call Me by Your Name.
Nope.
He was in Lady Bird. Did you see that one?
Nope.
Did
I'm
you see Don't
googling.
Look Up?
Nope.
Okay, well, you wouldn't have seen anything else here. So,
Okay,
let me
Timothy.
go to his
Okay,
IMDb.
I'm looking at a photo of him. I definitely don't know who this is. Is he
You're
a good? He's a
kidding.
good actor, though. Is what
Oh, he's
I'm
great. He's
okay.
great. But I think it's insane that you don't know who he is. He's like gone crazy. Everyone is obsessed with him all of a sudden,
No,
and like
how
he's
would
great.
James
Don't get me
Wong
wrong.
feel about? Is he the Harry Styles of like acting?
I mean, Kind of, but I
Is that a
think that's
good
a weird,
comparison?
I think that's an insane way to put something.
Who the fuck isn't talking about Harry Styles though?
Fair, fair. Everyone loves Harry Styles right now.
That's the thing.
Oh,
Is like even if you don't listen to him, everyone knows who he is, and I don't know if he's like that, but like for acting.
maybe, I don't know. It might just be the fact that they're both white dudes with big hair.
Is that maybe that's why I made the comparison? I'm
I
looking at him.
think so. I don't think that's the first time I've heard that comparison, so that's funny as hell.
It's yeah, I'm definitely not comparing them by the way, personality or like behavioral wise. I literally just meant like people's attitudes towards them. Is the
In a way, yeah. Yeah.
okay?
I
He's-
mean,
He's the big swinging dick right now.
I think again that kind of comparison just depends on the individual themselves comparing. But yeah, I think in broad strokes you could say he's like the Harry Styles of acting. But I mean, Harry Styles has acted before, so you might just say he's the Harry Styles of acting.
Is that I think that might be our actually our title for the episode. There is Damion doesn't know who the fuck Timothée
Chalamet? Holy
Chalamet is,
shit.
and is he Harry Styles?
You know what? That's a good title.
God
A little
damn it.
long, but goddamn.
Okay,
I
you had a point there though, and I took you off.
Oh yeah. So I was talking about how once stars get to like a certain amount of fame, you don't see them as the character in like Lady Gaga has been in a few movies recently, and it's like that's awesome. She did a great job, but it's like the entire time you're like that's Lady Gaga,
Actually,
Lady Gaga.
I get that actually. I do because hearing her music growing up as a kid, like she's just such an identifiable like figure in my mind, like who she is, what she does, kind of what she stands for. I haven't seen any of her movies she's been in, but if I did, I bet the whole time I'd be sitting there thinking like that's Lady Gaga, like that's whoever the act,
And
like her caricature or whatever that she's trying to portray. I feel like would kind of get lost in the sauce a little bit,
a little lost in the sauce. No, I get what you're saying. Um, I think it might just be that I'm on the internet too much. If it's becoming to the point where a lot of these big stars are, too well known to me, so maybe I need to just chill the fuck out. But yeah, I was saying Timothée Chalamet. He's been in a good amount of stuff. Now that I'm looking at his IMDb, he hasn't been in like an insane amount, but he's been in a lot of big movies that I myself have taken the time to watch. That I'm like, oh, he's big. He also hosted SNL. So,
Oh, yeah, I don't have cable TV, so.
well, yeah, I mean,
Do you have it at your new apartment? Actually,
I know. I just watched like the YouTube clips because
oh,
they
I follow.
released like their entire episode and more, and I'm like, yeah, that's good. No, and he did a great job, which I was like, awesome. But now he's going to be doing Willy Wonka in the new Willy Wonka, which they've done that movie like 3 times already, right? Do we need another?
I don't know. Do you think our boy Timothy's gonna mix it up? Is he gonna
Fucking no.
Mecha Willy Wonka?
We already got the 2 versions that any world would ever need. We have Gene Kelly, the original, who was, the magical Willy Wonka, and then we had Johnny Depp, who scared the living shit out of me with that weird bob also.
That film was so cursed, by the way.
That was the one that I saw first, actually, because that was like, it came out when I was younger. I saw that first. And even then, I was like, I don't feel good about this. Like, it scared me. I didn't know it was a musical until later. I grew up and I was like, oh, he sings in this movie.
I'm gonna send it, and we're here. And what is going on with the dryer?
Okay. So the dryer. Me, my roommates, again, no one lives here except me. The 4 of us, we got. Yeah, I know. Love them. No, they're actually great, but just not here yet. We got like a washer and dryer off of Facebook Marketplace or whatever. It was all right. They were reliable buyer, like seller. They'd had a bunch of good reviews, so we're like, sweet. We get it from them. They drop it off. Obviously, it's just me there, but one of the roommates lives in Utah, but hasn't moved in yet. So he came by and helped me move it in, both the washer and dryer. And we live on the 2nd story, and it's just stairs. So it was kind of a fucking worst getting the washer up because it's so much heavier than the dryer. Like, what the fuck? We We sweat for sure. And then we, did what anyone would do with their washer and dryer. We got them up the stairs, put it in the dining room, and then we said, all right, we'll get to it another day.
Of course.
And, then that day eventually came where I was like, oh, I really need to get some laundry done. I've been living here for a week and a half. And one of so in the musical theater program, it's like we have like a sorority or fraternity kind of deal, or more like sorority, where you have like bigs and littles. So each year you have like someone to introduce you to stuff. And my little, I went to see him in this show that they were doing. It was a fun show. It was the zombie one I have mentioned a few times.
Okay.
He was great. But then we're just chatting. He's like, yeah, I actually, we were telling him about the washer and dryer, and he was like, oh, I actually used to do some appliance work back when I was, growing up. And I was like, no way. And he's like, yeah, I could totally help you with that. So he comes by some day that he could make the time, and I was like, this is so amazing. Thank you so much. He's helping me out. I feel like, the little kid sitting next to dad. He's like, hey, could you pass me the wrench? And I'm like, which one? And I'm like helping him out. And then we get it all set up. It's a great time. And, it's been a bitch to have those there because it's just been sitting there. The cat has decided that's its new favorite place to rest.
Of course.
And then we move them into the side room, which our laundry room is connected like right next to our kitchen. So tiny little room. But, it works. And we get it set up. He's like, I don't know if the washer's draining. So we sit there for like 30 minutes and it drains. So we're like, okay. And then he's like, I don't know if the dryer's producing heat. And I was like, you know what? You've got family coming into town soon, so I'll fuck around with it. And then, believe it or not, someone who doesn't know what they're doing with a dryer didn't really help. I essentially just sat there pressing buttons and turning dials. And then I was like, it doesn't work.
It's fucked.
Yeah, so then I'm just hang drying stuff, and James, my roommate, he gets in contact with the guy who sold us the stuff, and he's like, hey, so the dryer you sent us isn't producing any heat, and he's like, oh, calm down, does Monday work? And James obviously isn't in town, so he's like, hey, Kate, does Monday work? And I was like, no, Monday does not work. And he's like, does Tuesday work? And I was like, Tuesday does not work. So then he's like, all right, Wednesday it is. So Wednesday, which is today, he's like, yeah, he'll be there sometime like 10 or to 11, sometime in that area. And I was like, awesome. So I get up, I make sure the area is nice, ish enough, he can get to it.
Right.
And by the time 11:30 hits, I'm like, I don't think he's coming. So I messaged James, and James is like, yeah, sorry, he said he's a little bit behind, so he'll be there around like 3 or 4. And then he was like, actually, I don't know if he's going to be able to make it today. So then I'm like, okay, whatever, after I've already asked you to reschedule some stuff. So then I'm like, great, we'll just do our little podcast thing, and we'll get it fixed another day. And then James messages me and says, hey, are you home? Like right as we're about to start recording. And I'm like, yeah, I've got, something I'm doing. He's like, well, the guy's going to be coming by in an hour. And I'm like, motherfucker. An hour and, 10 minutes later, he shows up. Different dude. I'm like, all right. All right. He's just like, hey, I'm here for the dryer. I'm like, awesome. Follow me. And he's like, all right, you don't need to stay. And I was like, okay.
Did he fix it? It's all working?
I certainly hope so. I mean, I'm going to have to run a load or something, see if they dry in less than, 24 hours it took it before?
Jesus Christ. Did he charge you at all, or the other guy?
No, he didn't charge me at all, which was nice. But we'll see if it does anything. Maybe he just put like a bomb or a camera in there.
Oh, that would be sick. Just like,
yeah. I
mean, washer and dryer blows up.
Yeah, it'd be fun. But yeah, no, I had to fight with that thing for a while because it did dry my clothes, but it, like I said, it took 24 hours of running, and I was like, that's just there's lot.
Maybe it's just doing its best. Have you
yeah,
thought
maybe
about that?
maybe its best isn't enough.
Oh fuck! There's something to that.
But yeah, that's my little story about my dryer that can eat my ass because it's a small dryer too, so it doesn't hold like a lot of clothes. So I was like, God damn!
You go 5 tees at a time.
No, literally, I had to cut my load of laundry in half, and it still took 24 hours.
Jesus fucking Christ!
But yeah, that's. But now it is hopefully fixed.
We'll find out on the next podcast. That'll be
hell yeah.
Introduction is, did Tate's dryer get fixed? Did it blow up?
God.
But was there any closing notes you wanted to have before we head out of here, Tate? Any last topics?
Any closing notes? No last topics, but I mean, just have respect for Sonic and the Chili Dogs.
And we should probably try and figure out when it became canon. That'll be our goal. All right, we will head out then.